That's the big matchup. That was like the big boy matchup of the day, obviously. And I think we all expected Alabama, I don't know if easily, but we expected the Crimson Tide. They're number one in your poll. You had them number one all along. You put Nate Oates in the Hall of Fame.
I did.
You know who belongs in the Hall of Fame? Matt Painter.
That is true.
Absolutely belongs in the Hall. What he's done with this Purdue program is amazing. And tonight, the Boilermakers at Mackey, you don't want to bet against Purdue at Mackey.
Yeah, well, it's also – I think you have to give Nate Oates credit for actually playing the game on the road at Mackey. Like, we need more of this in college basketball. Mackey Arena, for people listening, every Purdue fan listening to this is going to know what I'm about to say, but Mackey Arena is up there with Cameron Indoor Stadium and Fog Allen Fieldhouse as like the toughest environments to play in when Purdue is good, and Purdue is really good, and the fan base is excited and fired up. They pack that place out. It's loud. They're coordinated in their efforts. They have the students on each end behind the bat. It's a phenomenal place. If you have a bucket list for places you need to go watch college basketball, go there. Credit to Nate Oates for playing this game. Credit to Matt Painter for kicking their ass. And I think that it's fair to say that they, especially down the stretch, right? The thing that stood out to me more than anything else was how good Trey Kaufman-Renn was probably the best player on the floor for Purdue because they threw it to him, and every single time he got it down on the block, he scored or he found someone for a bucket. Like Braden Smith, 17-10, 6 rebounds. Like he might be the best point guard in America. I think that argument can be made. I don't know if I'm quite ready to go there yet, but he is certainly in that conversation. And promise you this, if you're doing a top 5 list, he's top 5 and he ain't number 5.
Kaufman-Renn finished with 26, 8, and 4 tonight. Fletcher Loyer, Braden Smith both had 17. And I think going into this game, you were on Twitter, X all day long. Alabama was an incredibly popular pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were.
Everybody was on Alabama except for maybe the Purdue faithful had the Crimson Tide in this game. One of the more popular picks, honestly, that I can remember for a road favorite in college basketball. It's tough to win on the road in college basketball, much less as a road favorite. And it's again, you go to Mackey Arena, it's tough to get it done, and they couldn't tonight.
Yeah, and again, listen, Alabama, we know they have Mark Sears. I think a lot of people felt like Mark Sears was the best guard in the country coming into the season. You did, right? You did. I mean, that's no knock on you.
Yeah, it's Mark Sears, RJ Davis.
He had a great year.
Yeah, those two, yeah.
But I think Braden Smith was almost a forgotten man a little bit until the season started, and we saw what he meant to Purdue and the numbers he was putting up right away for Purdue. To me, again, the big question mark was going to be, who's the third guy? We know Braden Smith's going to be good, or who's the second guy? We know Fletcher Loyer is going to be one of their top guys.
Yeah.
Who else is going to join them? People, myself, I said Cam Heide. Maybe it's Miles Colvin. Well, it's the guy, Trey Kaufman-Renn, who kind of was the forgotten man last year, only because he didn't fit well with Zach Edey.
So the only thing that I would say to that is I think that we kind of knew what Trey Kaufman-Renn was, and I think that the reason why he had 26 tonight was because he got 23 shots off, right? Like what Alabama said is we're going to guard him one-on-one, so they kept throwing the ball into him, and he kept going one-on-one, and down the stretch he was dominant. I think Fletcher Loyer is a guy where when you scheme offensive sets for him, he's really good at running off those DHOs. He's really good at coming off of screens and being able to make a shot. Like, he's a good player when you set up an offense. He can run the play, and he can get the shot out of it and make that shot. He's really good at that. To me, what kind of set them apart tonight was C.J. Cox. He had 11 points, 4 for 5 from the floor, hit 3 threes, helped spur that 13-0 run in the second half when they erased the 6-point deficit and took the lead and kind of never looked back. And I think that my question with them coming into the season was not having Lance Jones, not having that other guy that could create something out of nothing. And, I mean, you replace a fifth-year senior, and you're like, yeah, we're going to bring this guy off the bench, this freshman coming in, and, recruited by some Ivy League schools. No one really knew who he was. Yeah. And he showed some flashes in the bye games.
Isn't this Matt Painter to a T? Like, because when Matt Painter watches an AU game, he doesn't care about the rankings. They're irrelevant to Matt Painter. Other coaches recruit to the rankings. Matt Painter just watches a game.
Yeah.
And he's going to find a guy that fits the things that he values, right? Toughness, character, all that. He might give a little bit in the talent realm, but he's not going to give in all those other things. And he doesn't care that C.J. Cox is like recruited by Ivy Leagues. If he likes him, whatever. Let's go get him.
Well, what I was more saying is that Lance Jones was a really good fifth-year, 23-year-old guy that had done it at a high level not in the Big Five leagues, but in the Missouri. Like, he'd been really good at a high level of basketball, and you're bringing in a freshman that no one really knew. And I'm not ready to say that he's going to do everything Lance Jones did, but in the moment you needed him tonight, he came through and he made the plays that he needed to make.
So if you're Purdue and you're trying to answer the preseason questions of what you're looking to replace after a national championship game berth last season, how does this game at home answer some of those questions?
I mean, you feel really good because, again, Trey Kaufman can give you some of what Zach Edey gave you. He's not going to give you all of it. And then other guys have to pick up the slack. Braden Smith's better.
Yeah.
He's the guy now. So, obviously he's going to do more. Fletcher Loyer's got to be more consistent than he's been in the past. He can't have those highs and lows like he's had. And the guys like Cox have to step up. It may not be him, like you said, every night, but if it's him 1 out of 3 and Cam Heide shows up 1 out of 3 and Colvin shows up, okay, you know what? Then you got a team, and, that's what Purdue's all about. They're just about playing the right way, and they're about the sum of their parts generally. Meaning more than the one individual. Last 2 years, it was different.
I would still make the argument that last year the sum of their parts was the whole was better than the sum of the parts, even when you had Zach Edey. And I think we're seeing it again this year. I'm not ready to cut bait on Alabama, and we'll talk about that a little bit after we hear from Painter. But I think that Purdue was really impressive tonight. They won a game at home, what you're supposed to do when you have these big non-conference matchups. You want to be able to get those. I think that when it gets to March, that win is going to look incredible because I don't think that Alabama's fading away here. And all credit to Purdue, man. They proved a lot of people wrong with this win tonight.
Jeff Goodman had a